Thank you so much for Dr. Lionel for having me in this forum. Today I will speak about how the rule of law is undermined through the rule by law. Before I begin my talk, I would like to first mention that we should not treat the symptom, but we should find the root cause of a problem and treat the root cause of that particular problem. The 20th Amendment is a symptom, not a root cause of a problem. So treating to the root cause of the problem is very important rather than treating the symptoms. So in my speech, I will discuss some elements of rule of law as well as some elements of rule by law. And thereafter, I will let you decide, I will let you determine whether the Sri Lankan justice system, Sri Lankan political system is governing with the system of rule of law or rule by law. So at the end, I will explain what I feel that we should do in order for the country to be directed into the right direction. Now I will turn to understand certain elements of the rule of law. Rule of law is a constitutional principle which has deeper and wider meaning. So in rule of law, there are various elements in the principle of rule of law. I will explain you 4 elements only in this speech because I don't have enough time to talk about it. So first thing that I would like to explain is that in a country where the rule of law is existing, that country create and maintain of an actual order of positive laws to govern the society. So first element is that all the laws that the government create and execute must be positive laws. So later I will come on to understand what is positive law. So number one thing that we need to see is that the law must be positive. Number 2, all people, no matter ordinary citizen or people who are in power, must be under the law. The supremacy of the law is very important. In a country, if a country is a country with a system of rule of law, then the supreme power has the law. Not the president, not the parliament, or not even the Supreme Court, but the law itself. So therefore the supremacy should be given to the law. And it associates with the concept of natural law. So I will explain you what is natural law later on my speech. And it precludes the influence of arbitrary power. When the government is using arbitrary power, there should be a mechanism to preclude or to control the government in enacting and executing arbitrary laws. So that is where the Supreme Court is existing. And in the Supreme Court, there are some constitutional principles, particularly we use them in Canada. Supreme Court of Canada usually use some principles called unwritten principles of constitution. These unwritten principles of constitution give wide power to the Supreme Court to interpret the law when it comes to the government abuse the law or abuse the system or arbitrarily use the legal system. So the court has an inherent power to create laws. But unfortunately in Sri Lanka, we don't see the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka use these kind of terms. It's very sad. Next I will explain you some how we can identify a system is with rule by law. In a country where the system is governing government is ruling a country by law, that particular country is the people who are in power is above the law. You can see always the governing people are above the law. I don't need to explain this to you. When you look at Sri Lankan system, always the people who are in power is behaving in the society as they are above the law. The other element is that most of the people in the country, vast majority of the people in the country is law-abiding citizens, where some powerful people as well as the people who are associated with these powerful people are always breaking the law. Sometimes they do this with a malicious intention. So if you look at the Sri Lankan system today, even at present, one former minister is missing when the court ordered to arrest him. So is he a responsible person? This is a natural practice in Sri Lanka. So these are the elements that we can see in a system of government that rule use to govern this country. So now you would be able to understand Sri Lanka has a system that use rule by law. The other element in a system of rule by law is that it is a method that the government and people who are in power use to shape the behavior of the people in terms of governing a country. So they use the law to shape the behavior of the people. It's a method that the people who are in power to use this kind of laws. The other element is that they pass the laws where they find it is convenient for them to do certain things that they want. So throughout our Sri Lankan history, you can see that most of the government are passing the laws for the sake of their benefit. The ultimate goal of a rule by law system is that psychologically or forcefully persuading people to agree with the policy decisions that they are making. Otherwise, the general public would not agree with. So it's a psychological or influential method that the people who are in power to use for the benefit of them in order to run the country and always to be in the power. So now I would like to invite you to look at 20th Amendment under the lens of rule of law as well as rule by law. These rights are explained in the section part 3 of the Constitution of Sri Lanka. You can look at them. So we talk about the positive law. What are the principles associated with the positive law? Positive law is made by the lawmakers. The parliament is supposed to make positive laws, not the negative laws. Positive laws has some certain elements that we can understand whether it's a positive law or negative law. In order a law to be a positive law, as I mentioned earlier, these laws must not step on the natural rights of the people. And it is based on the majority rule. What that means is that the best interest of the public should be maintained properly. And it should be based on the justice. Political justice, economical justice, and social justice. So it should be based on the principle of justice. And it always should respect the principle of natural justice. If it does not respect the principles of natural justice, then that particular system is not a positive law.